The documentary is here. She went and lied about sleeping with Tory. The behind the scenes between her and Kelsey. Hey guys, it's Lanaiya here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about Megan Thee Stallion's new documentary that has dropped. It's a 2-hour documentary called In Her Words. I feel like I've always been a Megan fan. Like, I like Megan. So today we're going to talk about the documentary. We're going to talk about what happened, what was said. I'm going to summarize it for you because it is 2 hours. So I'm going to summarize it. If you haven't watched it, don't worry, you're going to get all the tea. I'm going to tell you everything that is discussed in there. Throughout this video, feel free to let me know your thoughts, what you're thinking, what your stance is, and stay tuned to the end for me to give you the update on whether I'm still Team Meg or not. So the documentary starts off with Megan traveling. She's currently in Mexico, and she's just explaining how tired she is. She's completely fatigued. She feels like she's on the verge of a breakdown. So she's kind of feeling like she may have to do something about it. We really get an insight into who Megan is from early days, from her childhood in the first section of the documentary. So she talks to us about relationship with her mum. She says her mum is the baddest bee. She literally looked up to her mum completely. Her mum used to rap, and Megan idolized her and loved that, and she kind of took that on herself. So she was always around her mum and her grandmas, a lot of women, and she said being in those surroundings, she got a lot of praise, she got a lot of compliments. Like, she was a tall girl, she still is a tall girl, and it wasn't, I guess, coming from that kind of family, I'm assuming they were all quite tall. So it wasn't something strange, but when she got to school, and I guess as she went through her growth spurt, you know, kids, they were making fun of her and things like that. And in her own words, she said she was a bit of a crybaby. So when she went back to her mum said to her, you have to demand your respect. And at that point, she said she had a bit of a mindset shift. Let's talk about her dad now. So her dad was in jail for the first 8 years of her life. But when he came out, they were thick as thieves. They were really tight. And like her mum, her dad was good with rhyming too. He was good with lyrics. And there's a few things that he said that really stuck with her throughout her life up until this point. Some things that just rolled off his tongue. What was it? Not everything that grins is your friend. I think that's it. Whatever it is, I'm actually going to put it on screen. However, sadly, when she got to the 9th grade, her dad passed away from a heart attack. Megan felt like she had to be strong for her mum. This whole thing of Megan Thee Stallion, she talks about throughout this documentary that was like an armor that she had to create that's always strong, stronger than she may feel at times. To protect who she actually is, Megan Peach, she had to create this armor, this alter ego that, you know, was all the things that maybe she wanted to be, but couldn't always be all the time. Had all the characteristics that she needed to kind of protect herself in this world. And from, you know, the criticisms and the bullying, the things that would happen. This is where Megan Thee Stallion, this is how she started to create her. So she explains in this part of the documentary that her mum was a really good rapper. When Megan was getting ready for school, she'd see her mum writing lyrics, and she could go toe to toe with the guys, like her mum could get down. And she was a huge part of her inspiration. So she started writing lyrics. She put something on YouTube, like her first video of her rapping, and her mum was like, okay. And they used to go back and forth, and you know, her mum she would write something, her mum would then give her a little something, so she would come back and write something, and it sounded like a really good relationship. Her mum was like her biggest fan. Those videos that you see of Megan twerking and everything, her mum be the one filming, getting them angles, getting down low. Her mum then went on to become her manager, momager. And so she was coming out with songs, you know, doing her thing, growing in popularity. It's when she released Big Old Freak, Big Booty, Big Old Tree. That's when her success really started to come in. And as we know, Megan, she says things that some people may skirt around, like in her lyrics. So when she was questioned as she was coming up, you know, what's it all about? What's Megan about? Well, all these lyrics, all these things you're talking about, what's the purpose of it all? She explained that she wants women to feel sexy. She wants them to feel confident and be confident in their sexuality. And the lyrics that she's coming out with, that's a lot of where it's coming from. That's what she wants to instill in her fans. So all of this was around 2018. And at this point, she said she was her happiest. This is when things were really going well. She was making moves, like things were going well. All right, so now it's gonna get a little bit sad. Things took a bit of a turn, things were up and then it started to go a bit down. Everything was going great, but then Megan's mum wasn't feeling well. She was slurring her words, she felt confused, and she just knew something wasn't right. So she asked Megan to call 911, and when she went to the hospital, they said she had a tumor on her brain, and shortly after that, she had back-to-back seizures, and then she was brain dead. It sounds like the way they made it out in the documentary, this came from nowhere. It didn't sound like she had anything that led up to this. It just all came from thin air. She was not responsive, and in the end, Megan had to make the call after a few days to pull the plug, and her mum passed away. At this point, Megan, a huge void, a huge void. Her mum, her bestie, her manager, just like that, gone. But before her mum passed, she said that it sounded like her mum was trying to give her a pep talk, like she knew something was about to happen. So she said to her, it doesn't matter if I'm sick, you gotta get to work, you gotta work, don't stop. And she tried to take this approach and just keep going. So from here on, all the things that happened, there were some great moments, there were some not so great moments, but you'll start to see the build up. It seems like from this pivotal moment is where Megan's confidence, just everything that's happening around her, that void not being filled, and maybe not even taking the time to properly process what had taken place. Even though she's moving forward, there was something that was deteriorating in the back there, which we'll get to that point. She left Houston where she grew up and she didn't go back. It was too painful. Mum had died, dad had died. She moved on from there. Her best friend Kelsey, who had been with her on the road, who'd always been about at that point, I guess tried to step in. So she became Megan's assistant and they were besties anyway. So I guess she was just trying to, help Megan at this point throughout her loss. 2020, lockdown period. Megan came out with Savage and then Beyonce jumped on it and they had the remix, which everybody was doing the TikTok dance. So behind the scenes, Megan was drinking a lot. She was partying a lot to try and help with the pain from losing her mum. And then she started hanging around with Tory Lanez. And he also explained that his mum had passed, and that's something that they bonded on. So the drama, you know which bit I'm talking about. So one night, Tory, Kelsey, Megan were leaving a party. Megan explained she had on a swimsuit at the time, and they were arguing. They were all very drunk. The only other person in the car was the driver. The argument was getting so heated. Megan says she can't even recall what the argument was about, that she got out of the car and she started walking. She was like, I'm just gonna walk home. Tory was like, get back in the car. We're almost at your house, get back in the car. She got back in the car, argument persists, it goes on, so she gets out the car again. He got really heated and was calling her names to get back in the car. And this is where he shot at her and shot her feet. Before she knew it, police were there. But one of the things she explained is that George Floyd, black man who was murdered by police, it happened around that time. And when the police turned up, she was thinking to herself, we've been drinking, he's got a gun, she don't want to die, she don't want no one to die. So the police came up to her and said, what's happened? They realized her foot was bleeding, what happened? And she said she stepped in glass. Her rationale, her explanation was she didn't want anyone to die on her watch because she didn't know what the police would do. Trusting the police was at an all-time low. However, when they got to the hospital, the doctor said, well, these are bullet fragments in your foot. Now she looks like she's lying or she's crazy. So as she's in hospital, Kelsey and Tory met up and had a discussion, and Megan was really surprised and put out by this because she was like, why are you meeting up with somebody who tried to shoot me? In terms of, I guess the way she's seeing it is he's a danger, he's a threat. Why would you do that? So she was quite put out. And also the way she worded it is that they met up in secret. That starts to set the tone of what's to come between them all. As soon as she could, she got back on her feet again and she kept herself busy. It now seems like she's trying to mask the pain of her mum dying. And now this incident where it's coming like she feels betrayed by Tory and her best friend, Kelsey. So she's gone on and she's working. WAP then came out. I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to get in trouble, but yeah, that one. That was a collab with Cardi B. And this song really got people talking. Come to think of it, I think I actually made a dance to this at the time. It's on my Instagram. I actually made a dance at the time. I was like, ooh, yeah, I was feeling it at the time. But I also did think to myself, the lyrics on this one, but the points that she makes is that men get scared when women come together and own their sexuality and harness it. Because some of the comments that were being made around that time when they came out with this song was, she's a terrible example of a mother, of a wife, she's a terrible example to young girls. But in fairness, she's not a wife, she's not a mum. And I don't think she's gone out there and said, I'm trying to be a role model to young people. I don't think she said that. Her response to it all was men sing and rap about group bangs, passing women around, drugging them, all that kind of stuff, talking about women, and it doesn't get the same response, whereas she's talking about her own body, her own down below. So why is everybody so outraged? In this section, she basically says that she feels as if women who embrace their sexuality are seen as whores or sluts, and for that reason, her being assaulted with the whole Tory Lanez situation, it was easy for people to dismiss because they don't hold her in the same regard, and it's almost as if it's more excusable because they've categorized her in that way. That was her thoughts on it. Next section, Tory Lanez gets charged for shooting Meg. A lot of bloggers start to come out, a lot of people on the platform, and give their opinion, and a lot of them seem to be in favor of Tory Lanez. And they're saying things like, they're calling her a liar, they're saying there were no bullet holes found, how would you know who shot you if your back was facing them? Tory's not that kind of guy. All these comments, a lot of comments circulating. So she starts to get quite emotional. Remember, as I said from earlier, after her mum passed, and there's a decline. So in the background, all the great things happening. WAP was really successful. Savage, the remix with Beyonce, lots of performances, yada, yada, yada. In the background, in terms of her mental health and everything else that's going on with the trial approaching, she's not doing great. Her thing was, with all the noise, she wanted someone to see her side. She felt as if all the voices were against her, but nobody was actually seeing where she was coming from. And I guess the friendship with Kelsey had deteriorated at this point, because she said, she expected her to come forward and she hadn't, because she was a witness. So that felt like another letdown amongst all the many voices. Someone who she considered to be her bestie wasn't in her corner. Now it gets to the other part that a lot of people have been talking about. Meg did an interview with Gayle King. This was previous, but after the shooting. And Gayle asked if Megan was intimate with Tory Lanez. She said no at the time. In this documentary, she then admitted that she didn't tell the truth about that. Now, the thing is, goodness, I don't know if I could be a celebrity, Imagine you're going on interview and you're asking me about who shares my bed. For what purpose? Is it your business? But okay. I guess some people are saying it could be things like that could add to motive as to why he would want to shoot her, if they're in some kind of love triangle, whatever. But ain't that for the police? Why on an interview? Anyway, I digress. She admitted that she lied about that, and the reason why she said was, one, she did not see that question coming up. It really knocked her for six, like, what? Where did this come from? But secondly, what she was saying was the amount of noise from people online, and even with the situation, even with the facts that were out there at the time, her feet, I think it was both her feet, had bullet fragments in it. As she said that Tory was the one who shot the gun. People didn't believe that, and they were pinning blame on her. So she didn't want to muddy the waters anymore, and now say, okay, yep, admit to, I had been intimate with him. For people to now use that as another thing to point at her and say, you're lying, or, this is another reason why Tory would be innocent, which I don't see how the two go hand in hand. Really and truly, what does that have to do with anything? Why would that have anything to do with excusing someone shooting at you or not? A video is then shown of Kelsey talking, her now being aware that Megan had slept with Tory, and she looks annoyed. She looks really annoyed, and she's basically saying, you're meant to be my bestie. Why are you doing that with somebody who I was dealing with first? So drama. Let us not share these men, please. Let us have our own. But anyway, so Megan, speaking to the camera, basically explains that if her mum was still around, she doesn't think half of these things would have taken place. It sounds like her life was a lot more balanced. She wouldn't have been drinking. She probably wouldn't have made friends with half of these people. I guess she was hurting, which is why she's ended up here, and she was trying to mask that pain. So then she came out with the album Traumazine. This was, as she put it, her most personal album yet. She wanted to talk about where she really was at, where her mindset was really at in that moment, just keep it really raw, and how the shooting, the betrayal, the online torture, the online targeting was affecting her and what she was going through. Again, where she was at mentally, continuing to sort of decline. She explained that her anxiety was through the roof, When she went to perform, you know, in front of hundreds, thousands of people, she was always worried about, are these people really here for me, or are they here to get me, to attack me? Because she's seen so much online that I guess that's given her a vision of what she thinks the masses think about her. On stage, she sounds like she felt quite vulnerable. She was anxious. She wasn't very confident. She was constantly in a bad mood around this time and really worried whenever she walked into a room or in a space with people that she didn't really know as to what their agenda was, if they wanted to hurt her from after the shooting, and I guess the mindset that put her in. So then she went and performed at the billboards, and that performance, the snippet that they showed of that performance, honestly, she delivered. This is what I mean about a performer. Like, you know, sometimes even when you're going to work and you're not in the mood, you got one of them brown letters, them brown envelopes that you know it don't mean nothing good. Somebody wants money for something. Your time of the month has just started. You come home and the leftovers from yesterday's Chinese takeaway, someone has decided to go and eat for you. You're just in a mood and you don't feel like doing anything. This is the difference with a performer and getting into that space and just putting on that mask. She went out there and she delivered. She delivered. Honestly, I would not think that she was going through half of what she was going through based on that performance. So now we're going to get to the straw that broke the camel's back. So Meg's still performing, popping up here, there, doing her thing. And then she goes to perform at Rolling Loud. Right after her performance, Tory Lanez comes on. And he comes on with a big teddy bear mask on his head. So it's only revealed that it's him once he takes it off. The impression I got from this part is that she was surprised by him being there, that she didn't know he was going to be there, and she felt as if he was taunting her. But the thing is, I would have thought that for things like this, that they would have to give you a schedule of who is before and after you. Like, let's say there's somebody, you know, like rappers sometimes when they're beefing. Let's think of the days of Nicki and Cardi. They wouldn't want to be one after the other. They'd have to let them know, right? That bit was a bit unclear for me. He also texted her saying, oh, I saw you on live and you looked really sad. She changed her number, got a restraining order. Then he came out with a music video where he was chopping up a horse's leg. Now, as you may know, Megan Thee Stallion is Thee Stallion, the horse. Him chopping up a horse's leg, and he was grinning while he was doing it. There was a lot of blood everywhere. She felt that he was talking about her, that he was, again, taunting her. And on the menu in like the butcher shop where he was, it was called the HGS special, which she believes is meant to stand for like hot girl or hot girl summer, which are two things she's known for. You hear that, you think Megan Thee Stallion. To make matters worse, she then explains that while all of this is going on, a lot of big names, a lot of famous people, and specifically men, it's like they're publicly siding with Tory. So she showed snippets of Diddy, she showed snippets of DaBaby, 50 Cent, Joe Budden, all coming out in support of Tory during this time. So she's basically saying he's publicly trolling her, and no one's in her corner. Everybody is actually supporting him at this time. And she just felt as if he's caused her so much pain and stress, and he's just getting on about his life, laughing, joking, and got the support of everyone behind him. And where's her support at this time when she's the victim? She's mentally up and down. Good things are still happening. She got the key to the city of Houston was given to her. She then got to perform at Saturday Night Live. I think this is the performance where she was performing, but she was crying while she was performing. But not everyone picked it up, but they kind of zoomed in and you could see that she was tearing up. Her home then got broken into while she was away working. Someone broke into her house. And that's when they basically showed that enough was enough. Something needs to be done. This was November 2022. She had to cancel her shows. I think she was due to be in Australia next. She cancelled them. She apologized to all the hotties and she said, look, this is something she needs to do. She went away for a month to a mental health retreat. I feel like we're going down again, but it is going to get better. So I don't know if this was right before going on the mental health retreat or during, but she basically explained that she was feeling so lonely, which is something she touches on a lot throughout, that she felt so lonely. I guess losing her dad, losing her mum, and now her bestie. And, you know, being famous, you don't know who's your friend from who's not. You don't know who's really for you. Also, Tory, that relationship breaking down, that as well. She's lost a lot of key people. So She explained that she was so lonely. She felt really down. She felt like she had no value. She was just in a dark place. She was just in her room for 3 days, just crying. So she worked with a therapist through all of this and through her suicidal thoughts. Skip forward to the trial for the shooting. She felt she had to turn up for herself. And when I say herself, putting Megan Thee Stallion to one side, she had to turn up for Megan Pete and for other women around the world. The way she put it is, she knows she's famous. She knows she has a lot of resources. She has a lot of finances at her disposal. And even with all of that, she felt as if trying to get justice or for the truth to be heard was really difficult. So for women who may be encountering situations like these, who don't have all those things that she has to hand, she felt as if she had to really put her best foot forward with this and be strong for anybody else who may be watching and also for herself. She turned up at the court. She did what she had to do. Kelsey turned up and said she didn't remember what took place on the night. And then Tory turned up and obviously said what he had to say. There's then a section that shows her back at her house, just waiting to see what the verdict was, waiting to see what the outcome was. Her cousin came over at this point, and throughout this whole section, her cousin from when they were younger, were really tight, was there with her, which was nice to see, especially where she was expressing so much loneliness. So somebody who has been around from day dot, that you know is a real one. Her cousin was there with her. When they got the call, Tory Lanez was found guilty. He received the highest charges and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Megan was emotional. She was thanking God. She was crying. Yeah, people were hugging her. So then we see Megan once the trial has passed, and she basically says she thought that once it was done, she'd be a new woman, that chapter of her life is closed. She could move on, be happy. But people were still mad at her. People were still coming out with, the Megan hate train. And it just seemed like at this point she was just like, I don't care. I'm done with this. I need to move on for me. I need to be happy for me. And she just kind of got locked into her music. The music video, it was a song where she's like shedding her skin. So I think she kind of pulled a lot of her emotions and a lot of where she was at into her music. But she just said that ever since her mum passed away, that's the most hopeful she's felt. It kind of ended in a place where she was a lot happier, seemed a lot more balanced and in a good place, despite all the bumps in the road prior to this point. And at the very end, she kind of just says she knows her mum would be proud of her. Whew, that was a lot. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you where my head is now at, now that I have watched all of that. But let me know your thoughts so far. What are you thinking about this whole thing? I like Megan as a performer. I like her as a lyricist. I like her as a rapper. She's got that sex appeal, but she's also got that hoodness. She's also got that don't mess with me. Funnily enough, there was a bit in the documentary when I think it was after she performed at Saturday Night Live. And I can't remember her name now. I'm going to put it on screen, but she is the creative director. She used to work with Diddy on Making the Band. She was a she was a choreographer. Lauren, I'm so sorry, I can't remember her name. But that lady, she's trying to let Megan know that what you just did was an amazing performance, because she came out and she said to everybody, oh, how did it go? And everyone said, oh, you were amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. But when she watched it back, she was like, y'all lied to me. No, she didn't say that, but that's what her face said. That her face said, you're lying, you're lying. And that lady was then basically trying to say to her, don't upset me. You've done an amazing job. She was just trying to assure her that what you did was good. Like, don't start to doubt yourself. But she touched Megan, and Megan looked at her and said, don't make me get mad at you. And I might be interpreting it in the wrong way, but what I got at that moment was like, she's not to be played with. There was a few moments throughout, if we take it right back to the beginning, when she explained that when she was younger, she was a crybaby, and her mum said, you got to demand respect, like stop all that crying business. And there's a few times throughout when she says, I'm not no punk. All of that to say, the hoodness that I get in her, like in her rapping style, in her performance, she still has like the sex appeal and the twerking and all of that, but there's a bit of both. Is it giving me Foxy Brown? I'm not saying she's trying to imitate nobody, but there's something that female rappers of old used to have that I see a bit in Megan. I see a little bit of that in her. So I do like her as a performer. Her music gets me moving. Her music gets me dancing, definitely. When I heard the whole thing about Tory shooting her, I mean, it was like, what? But I didn't follow it. I didn't follow it to the T. I just read the headlines, really. He apparently shot her, bullet fragments. He's ended up going to prison, so he must have done something wrong. That's the way I see it. She's not the one in prison. The doctor says she had fragments in her foot. I mean, I don't really know what else there is to question. That's how I saw it. But some of the other things that I've seen people saying online, and again, I've just seen people saying these things, is that maybe people who have followed it more closely, is that in the car, the argument that was taking place was because Kelsey at that point found out about Megan sleeping with Tori as well. So they were both sleeping with him. She got mad. She was the one who was going to try and shoot Megan. And Tori was the one who took the gun away and went to discharge it or something. And something there went wrong. And the gun went off and the fragments ended up in her foot. This could be a whole load of hocus pocus bogus. But these are the kind of theories that I've been seeing online. So watching this documentary is something that her team has put together. So it's definitely going to be in favor of her. But I don't see how she could have lied and had it airing like this. So it sounds like it's true to me. I mean, I feel like in the beginning, I was Team Meg for this, and I'm still Team Meg. Whether he intentionally shot at her or... But what if he didn't intentionally shoot at her? What if he did try and discharge the gun and the fragments then ended up in her foot? But at that point, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it wasn't even about her pressing charges. And the police had taken over at that point, and it was a case of someone's getting in trouble for this. So I do feel like she's a fighter. I feel like she's very resilient. The amount of things that happened, and it's not that it's just her. We're all going through things, but she's a celebrity. She's the one putting her stuff out there, so we can see it, you know, chapter by chapter. And to have gone through all of that and to still be where she is and to still keep climbing, because I see a lot of hate circulating for Megan. She lost a lot of weight the other day, people cussing her for that. From what I've seen on social media, she's always been into her fitness, so it didn't look that surprising to me. But nowadays, anybody who loses weight, everybody think they're on Ozempic. I mean, they might be, they might not. I just don't know. She does seem to get a lot of hate, I feel. I feel like people just, they seem to go after her a lot. The whole thing about her losing her mum, the way she managed to still stay relevant, still keep creating, kind of funnel her feelings and emotions into her music and still keep climbing ratings. Because I remember watching an interview with Busta Rhymes, and he spoke about when his manager passed away and he just felt like he lost a whole part of himself. And it was really, I mean, it sounded like he valued him, of course, but at that point that he realized how much this person was doing for him. And there was I think the grief, but there was a period where we didn't hear from Busta for a long time. We didn't get nothing from him. And it was like losing, I guess, your right arm of that person that you go to, that person who is very much in the creative with you, but it's not a double act. So you just don't hear their name as much, but they're very much there. They're a big presence. So I guess that was the same case for her. And hearing Busta's story and how much that affected him, it could have gone that way for her, but it didn't. So it sounds like due to the pain, she made a lot of choices that she wouldn't have made if she wasn't in that place. But she still managed to keep pushing forward, which I think is commendable. And the whole thing she mentioned about making Megan Thee Stallion and the reasons why she created this persona, this alter ego, to manage pain that she was going through, to manage people trolling her, to create the best version of her, the strongest version of her that's not to be messed with. I think there's a lot of times in life when we need that person, when we need to show up as that person. So just watching her process, I think there's something inspiring in that, because if we fell prey to the many things that we go through that we can't control, these obstacles they be throwing themselves if we fell prey to every single one of these things, or just every single time we crumbled, I don't know how we get anywhere. So yeah, I think that was really commendable. I liked how she explained that process. I feel like I know Megan a little bit more. I liked her before. I like her even more now. That's my stance on it. If you see something different, convince me. Let me know if there's something I'm missing out here. If there is a big blind spot I have not seen, please let me know. Let's talk about it. Honestly, let's have a chat. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you a good summary of what took place in the documentary. It's still worth a watch because I haven't given you the visuals, you know, I haven't done it in the storyboard way that they have. So 2 hours, take the evening, put your feet up, give it a watch. And yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure as always. If you've got a bit more time on your hands, I will put another video up here for you to watch. And if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.